So in this video, I'm going to do a bit of a look at what it takes to do the graphics for what's actually a fairly simple shirt. This is my website, flowerpowereddesign.com. This is the shirt that I'm going to be featuring. It's my latest design based on the very famous song, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch. Um, this shows it in the blue, but I've got lots of other colors. I think 8 colors total. When I make a shirt, there's this print supplier has like 31 colors. I mean, 3 shades of green, 3 shades of blue, and I go through and based on what the images are, I decide which colors will work best for the design. Try not to get too insane. I mean, the 3 colors of blue are all nice, but I don't necessarily need to offer all of them. And I picked the royal blue on this one because I really liked the way the images stood out in this. Um, so that's part of the design. They go up to 5x, but I'm going to go ahead and look each one of the graphics. I buy my graphics. Um, and then I get the different images, but they come in as JPEG, so they come in with a white background. And so what I would end up with if I left them as they were is each one of these 4 items would have like a white square around it. And if you don't get rid of that, then it just looks dumb. Even if you put it on a white shirt, the white background may not be the exact same white, so you'd still see the block. So I'm going to go ahead and show how I do each of the graphic images now. Okay, now I'm going to show how I actually got the pictures ready for putting them onto the shirt. I have to erase the backgrounds to make them transparent, and I use this program called Back Eraser. You can see a bunch of pictures that I've worked on before. Most of these programs work about the same. Monthly subscription or whatever, a couple bucks. This one's really cheap. It works well. Every background eraser program, I'll go ahead and I'll do create new. The one I want is this one. This is going to be my first picture. All of these programs basically work off of very similar, but they have their own algorithms. It's a mathematical thing I don't understand, but just depends. Sometimes some pictures will do well in some programs and not in others. Another program I really like is Pixamatic. But right here is what the picture looks like. This is a JPEG picture, which means it has a white background. If I go next in the upper right here, this program is going to try to detect what it thinks the background is. Obviously, that's messed up. Lower right corner, I do an undo, puts everything back to the way it was. Now I can go down here to the third button from the right. I do target color, and then I basically just say, what color do I want it to remove? What is the background? Sometimes I'll grab a picture and I'll have a blue background, but here I'm going to show it white. And it did pretty good, but you'll notice the inside of the sugar bag, the sugar is white, so thus it removed the sugar. So what you have to do then is manually go in and put back what it removed that you didn't want. Also down here in the middle bottom, you've got something called threshold, and that'll put back a little bit, but also you have to look at what that does to your edges. But the edges are fine. It put a little bit back in the sugar, but you can adjust your threshold. Sometimes that'll help with some. One thing doing the threshold did do, if I move it back, is if you notice up in the top of the handle of the scoop, you can see a little checkerboard through that little hole. But when I move the threshold down, well, it did it before, and now it won't do it. But before, when I did the threshold, it put the white back in there, but I'll have to go put that back manually. So the way you go ahead and basically restore what it took out that you didn't want is down in the lower left. There's this restore button in this program. It basically turns the background to this green color so you can see. That big dot up there, that is my cursor because the size is set really large to begin with. I'll move my cursor down a little bit. Also, there's this piece called offset, and I don't use it. So I turn the offset all the way down. I'm going to take the size down. This is going to be, I don't have a lot of like tiny fill-ins, so I don't need to have it super small. You could set your brush type over here on the left to different shapes. I usually use round. It works for me. Brush feather will smooth out your edges some. So basically now I've got this and I'm just going to restore, and I'm using my Apple Pencil on my iPad here, and I just basically go in there with and paint it. This one's going to be really easy because I don't have a lot of really small areas. And then I zoom using double finger pinch pull, zoom it out. And that was really easy to put that back in. I'll zoom in just a little bit tighter so I can get that little spot on the handle. And I mean, that looks pretty good. This was an easy picture. Ooh, I like this picture for its sort of 3D, but I also made sure to pick one that did not have, that I thought would be really easy to remove the background on. So the other thing you can do is if you go down to the bottom, back to that target color, that takes you out of the restore mode. And then right above that in this lower right here, you got those little sort of double arrows, the magnifying glass, but right in between is that little checkbox with a little tiny transparency. You can hit that and change it to white and then change it to black. And that just gives you a different way to view it to make sure that you've gotten all your pieces done. And then go to the upper right where you see the little box with the up arrow right above the picture. You hit that, and that takes you into your save. Every program's going to be a little bit different, but I like this one, and it's pretty close to what a lot of them are. I've used a lot of different ones. And then I'll do save to photos. I want it in PNG. PNG gives me the transparent background. Then I've got my sugar. If I go back to the upper right, that's the home button. I can do create new, and then I want my pie, and then I go next. Again, it's trying to detect the background, and you can see it's got some of this hazy white stuff. I'm going to do my own background detecting, so I'm going to do an undo. And then I'm going to go down to target color. I'm going to hit the white. Now, on this piece of pie, although I really liked it for the 3D and it fits in with the other and everything, it's got this sort of beige shadow around here that I don't really want. So then I'm going to go back to target color again. And I'm going to remove that. So basically, I told it to target the white, and I told it to target the beige. Here, I'm lucky because that beige was enough of a color difference from the tan, for lack of a better term, of the actual pie. But as you can see, if we zoom in, the pie had these little highlights that were white. And now you can see, that was an accident. Undo that. Know where that undo button is on the bottom right. We'll use that a lot. And then, so what'll happen is if I put this just like it is onto a shirt, say I've got it on a green shirt, that's transparent, and you will end up with green bits in the middle of your pie, or blue, or whatever color shirt. So I'm going to go back down to the restore button. Now you can really see those with the green background. I'm going to take the offset all the way down. I'm going to take the size down. And then these are nice and easy. They're big chunkies. And we'll just fill them in, put my highlights back white, so that when I actually put it onto a shirt and I can offer it in different colors without having weird bits in the pie or wherever else in any of the other graphics. I mean, that was a really easy, and that's the second piece. And then I go back to the upper right, to the up arrow, save as a PNG, save to photos. So here I am back. This is the honey picture I've got. Again, I like it, the 3D look, the vector graphic. And we're going to go ahead and go next. And you can see it tried to detect, and I don't like what it did, so I'll do the undo. Now, I think I'm going to have a bit of an issue with this one that we didn't have on the other, because of the mouth of the jar is very close and has some white in it, but I'm going to go ahead and we'll do target color at the bottom, select the white, and as you can see, it removed a lot of the mouth. So then we'll take the threshold down. That puts most of it back. And then I can go back down to the bottom to restore, change my offset, put my size way down, and go in here and fill in the white highlight areas. Zoom in a little bit more so I can see the curved pieces. You can see it with the green background, how that helps it. Each program is going to be a little bit different on how it shows this, but it'll have a way to see the contrast. And really, you can do this with your finger, and I did for a very short time, and then the pencil just makes it so much easier. Whatever type of tool for your computer or tablet, but I use an iPad with the Apple Pencil. It works pretty good. Some things I'll use my finger for, but when you get into the really fine details, now I have to come in and fill in the honey here, go on down and fill in some more. And then we're also going to get the jar top. Just fill this in here. Now I want the whole jar top to be white so you can really see the edges with the gray and everything. So here, I'm going to actually increase my size a little bit because I'm just going to go in here and fill this in. Make sure I pick up my pencil on occasion in case I have to undo. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of the jar back. Now I'm going to get up here to the top of this where I have to be a bit more careful. Just cut in right along that edge. Make sure I get that little green strip off. Zoom in, make sure I didn't miss any little tiny bits, because that's where any background color from whatever selection of t-shirt would show through. And now the top looks pretty good. Let's go down to the bottom. We have one little highlight here. The cursor's pretty big, but it doesn't matter for that. Where I now have this issue is I don't really want that highlight or shadow at the bottom. So here I'm going to switch to erase mode, lower left. I'm going to switch, then I go to the right where I can select what color I want. I'm going to put it on black simply so I can see really well. And I'm going to start big and erase some, and then I'm going to gradually get smaller as I try to tuck and cut in and erase that. And there, now you can see I didn't pick it up, so I undid more than I wanted to, but I cut in too far. I'm going to take the size down. And again, we're at like really microscopic levels, so what may look rough here when you zoom out, it isn't going to be that. Just doing a little rough, and then I'll cut in. Again, this is a preference. I mean, maybe you would have liked the shadow. I just didn't. So, make a bit more work for myself, but I'm going to keep doing this. This is going to probably take a couple minutes. You can see I've got this one area here. Even if I zoom out, you kind of notice where it indents just a little bit right in here area. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do restore. And here I'm just going to put a little bit of the edge that I cut in a little too tight. Put that back, go back to erase, zoom out. I still don't like it. So I go back to restore, and I mean, we're talking like pixels here, so. And I'm going to up my brush feather, that'll help. And there. And then I'll go back to erase. So I got the black background. And then when I take it out, again, that's really OCD, but that just made that a little bit more rounder on the zoom out. And then I'll go back here and I'll just do real rough, and then I'll have to cut in. So I'm going to keep working on the honey jar here and then come back, because then we have sugar pie honey bunch, and we'll be back with the bunch in just a minute. So now we're over here on my picture for bunch. The last word, of course, for the song title. Um, and here you can see, if I put my cursor upper right here, this little small picture, it shows what it looked like. This bunch of flowers, which is very pretty. It's a vector. I like the sort of 3D look to it. It goes with the other graphics. But when I removed that white background, it removed a lot of little highlight details. I put some of those back in. Like you can see, if we move the cursor just a tap up here in the upper top, you can see those berries have their white little detail for their little highlight. I still have to put that back on some of the other berries. Again, when I remove the white background, it removes the white highlights. So again, if we go back down to the bottom, second from the left option is restore. The little offset bar here, you can see how that will move the dot. If you look up here, move my cursor, it's now on the yellow sunflower there. So you can see how I can make it smaller, bigger, and then the offset would do this, where it would actually move. And I don't know why you would use offset. I never use it, but I guess it's a tool some people like. So I'll go ahead, I'll put the offset down. I'm going to put the size down because I'm doing small highlights. I'm on the restore, and these are a couple of the berries that need to have their little highlights put back. So there we go. We're doing little berry highlights. I'm using my Apple Pencil, of course, for this. Now on the iPad, I'm doing my drag using 2 fingers. Now here, I actually notice I've got this little spot right there, that little highlight in the sunflower. I'm going to put that back. I'm going to put the little highlights back in the berries. And I'm just going around and seeing if there's any other little highlight areas. Again, I've done a lot of the berries already. Just looking to see, aha, here's one little berry over here, one little highlight. And I mean, the picture's not looking bad. I mean, you zoom out here, yeah, I can twist it. Twist doesn't matter, but you can see it looks pretty good. If I change the background color, that sort of green background is what the restore does on this. If I do target color down here, bottom third from the right, this will actually let me change my background color. When you see check marks, that's your transparent background. I'll put it on white so I can kind of get a look, but what I really like is if I put it on black, because then it really shows me more detail. Again, this is just a viewing preference, lets you see things. I'm going to go back to restore, which is going to put my green on, and something else I'm having to work on this, and I've done a lot of it. Actually, not restore, erase there. And erase puts the black on, which again is really helpful. And when I remove that background, it still has these little white trail pieces. The little loose pieces I want to get rid of. Now, you can notice there's sort of this rough white edge, and it looks really rough. But think of this as like the microscopic view. So that's not going to really show to anything once you actually get it finalized. I'm just touching up. I don't like the little loose dots that came in when I did the remove the white background. The algorithm does pretty good, but it really depends on the picture, and sometimes you have to go in and touch up. You can see I'm moving little white dots. I'm going to just clean that up. Some of this is just your personal preference. I don't want that white quite as long there. So yeah, this is a lot of the personal preference. Here's a couple of loose white dots. So it's a lot of just zooming in, dragging around. I've done a lot of this already, so you can see there I messed up on my drag and I erased a piece in the middle of that branch, so I'm going to do the undo button down here in the lower right. Here's another little bit that I gotta trim. it's just a lot of really fine detail work. And I mean, sometimes you get pictures that are super easy, like you saw some of my others. Other times you'll get a picture you don't think is going to be that bad, and then it's just like, oh my word, it's got so much little stuff. Just a little tiny little point right there. Sometimes you just can't tell, but if you really like the picture, probably the worst one I ever had to do was a picture with feathers. That took forever. Okay, I'm just trimming this all up. And this is where, to get that little white dot, I gotta zoom in more, just in. More little white dots. Erase, 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 erase. Okay. So, see, I trimmed a little bit of the yellow. I gotta zoom in a little bit more so I don't do that. Zoom out. And up here, I got little white dots up in here. I gotta zoom and erase that little white dot. Again, I mean, some of this may not be visible once you get it on a shirt, but I mean, I really like the quality of my items to be as best as I can do. I mean, this is by no means designer clothing, but I mean, this is my company and I want it to be the best that I can make it. And I just trimmed a little bit of the green out, so I went and did an undo. There, I just want to remove the dot. There. Another little dot. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, keep going around, removing dots. Here's an interesting little thing before this is sort of a little in-between area. I'd like to get some more of that white out, but this is really, I'm at the absolute max zoom I can do. And my brush is the absolute smallest it will do. Also, something else, if we go back down to the lower left down here, you can see this program offers a brush feather, and that's supposed to feather the edges a little bit, make it look more natural. But you can see, I mean, if I zoom out, that little place where I've been working is like microscopic. And there I just messed up with my drag again. Undo that. That's one thing when you're doing a lot of this, especially if like you have to erase a large area or fill in a large area, is, at least the way I do it with the pencil, is I have to make sure that I don't do too much all in one stroke, because every stroke is one undo. So like if you made one little mistake and you've done a big huge swath, then you're going to have to go back and redo. So I pick up my pencil when I remember as much as I can. Here I'm just doing little dots, but like if I was doing a big chunk of restore, I'd want to do it in multiple swipes so that if I did slip and have to undo something, I'm not undoing a ton. So that's just something to remember, is to pick it up regularly, because each one of those pickups is an undo. So it's helpful. And again, the undo is down in that lower right there. Of course, you got to redo as well, just the other arrow. But I'm going to have some there. I just did a little bit more than I wanted. I'm going to go ahead, keep doing what I'm doing. And I will come back once I think I've got it all cleaned up. Okay, so I'm back here now. The picture's looking really good, I think. Been working on it for a good bit longer. I've got one other little detail I left and I want to show, because it just is another little tip for an aspect, especially when you get down working really tight. If we look at these rosebuds over here, I mean, zoom in, zoom out. They look fine zoomed out, but I mean, if I get in on this rosebud, I've got this little tiny area in between that's kind of bothering me. This is maximum zoom. I'm in erase mode, lower left. That's why I've got the black background. And I just want to go in and I want to clean that up. I get that little bit of a point. But where I run into a problem is I'm on maximum zoom. I've got my absolute smallest cursor. And when I go in here, it's just still, it's close but not quite, and I removed some red that I wanted. So here, when you just can't quite get exactly what you want in the way of tightness. Then I'll go back to restore, second one on the bottom. And now I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of the red in here. So I sort of go back and forth between erase and restore. And again, I know it's kind of OCD and all, but and this is kind of hard then to see the green against the green background, but I think that looks pretty good. But I had to use the two together just because I couldn't get quite down small enough. But I mean, if we zoom out, I mean, we're talking really, I'm getting OCD, I know, but so this looks really good to me. This is it against the black background. If I go to target color, and then that's third from the right, and then just above in the right, above the adjustments, down here, I've got the black. This shows what it'll look like on a transparent background and a white background. And I think that's looking really good, especially when you put it in on the whole design. So then I'm going to go up here to the upper right corner where you see right below my battery symbol, and I've got my little up arrow here, and that takes me to basically to the save. You have the option to save it as a JPEG or a PNG. A JPEG basically is what it came in as, so that puts the white background back that I just spent forever trying to get rid of. So obviously we want it in a PNG, that's your transparent background, and then I go down to save to photos. And then that's the last for that picture, and I can then go ahead and start putting it all together into a design for a shirt, which I will come back with in just a moment. So now that I've got all of my graphics so that they are on a transparent background, I now use a program called Picsart. I do this for a lot of my main t-shirts. This is what it looks like when you open it. It's got different things to try out, but you can see upper left there, that's Picsart. And then I want to go down to the bottom middle to that little plus sign. And what I'm going to do, it's got all these different options of different things. And I'm going to go down to where it says color backgrounds. This is basically your blank palette. And I want, of course, transparent. Again, that's your checkerboard. And the default I've got on this is its largest, which is like 3924 square. I wish they had it a little bit more high res, but Picsart does fine for a standard t-shirt. Once I've got this open, this is your workspace. This is a fairly simple shirt. I just have the pictures, so I'm going to go in and add pictures. I want sugar pie, honey, bunch, add. Pretty basic. And now I'm just going to decide how I want to arrange it. I mean, this is like squares, and I mean, it's not very exciting. So I think maybe I want to twist my pie just because maybe do I want to twist it yet? No, I like it that way. I don't want to tilt the sugar sack because it'll spill, right? Yeah. I want to make them all fairly similar size. I really like the pretty flowers. Pull those up, but not too big because I mean they're really colorful and all. But I'm just doing a resize. The lower right corner is your resize. The upper right corner is your twist. And then, of course, the X gets rid of it, which I don't want to do. Again, I think our flower's a little too big, so I'll just do that. And, I mean, I just have to decide. I could lay them over, and it would be whatever the order is that they were brought in. That's one thing with Picsart. I do use Photoshop sometimes. Photoshop allows you to change the layers, is bring one forward, bring one back. But Picsart is basically wherever you bring it in, like this was the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one. That's how it's going to layer the images. And of course, here in the West, we usually read pictures left, right, top, bottom. So, I mean, I kind of like that. I mean, it's simple. I don't have any text with this one. It's really easy. I mean, you've got a text option down here. I could type right here, but I'm just going to hit the X because I don't have any text on this. There's a lot of different options. I could do a whole video on Picsart. But yeah, then I just put it in here, and trying to see. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I mean, it's meant to be a shirt that'll grab attention, and somebody will take a minute to stop and think, and then go sugar pie, hut. Oh, and then hopefully they'll smile. So, I mean, this is a very basic design. I've done most of my work just getting the graphics to this point. And then when I want to save this, I just do a save simply like that. I want to save it as a PNG, and then save. Obviously, PNG is your transparent background. So that, I mean, I go and put this on different color shirts. That'll show in the background, and that's pretty much what I do to get a basic graphic design. Everyone's a little bit different. Some take a lot more. Doing all over prints are a completely different thing than this because they have to be a seamless and they have to join side to side, and a whole other video on that one. So there we are, sugar pie, honey bunch.